Hi, I'm Alastair Chisholm. I'm Director of Policy at the Chartered Institution of Water and Environmental Management, and I recently had the great privilege of speaking to the People's Commission on the water sector about what we need to do to build a resilient water system. I'm here beside my local river, which is the Pims Brook, and it flows west to east across North London, discharging into the River Lee and then on into the Thames. And it's about as good a definition of a component of an unresilient water system as you could hope to get. It's plagued by pollution from various sources, upstream from agricultural runoff, through these areas by sewage pollution from storm overflows and misconnected drains in people's homes, and of course from toxic highway runoff, because for a lot of its length it runs beside the horrendous North Circular Road, which is laden with heavy metals, hydrocarbons and microplastics that run into this watercourse. And all of those things combined make this particular river in poor condition and in dire need of some tender loving care. So what do we need to do to build a resilient water system? Well, pretty much everything that we need to do to help this watercourse. Firstly, we need to bear down on those sources of pollution. Water companies need to spend a large amount of money on improving the quality of effluent from their sewage treatment works, on reducing overflow spills of storm sewage, and on helping to identify those sewer misconnections. Highways authorities need to build treatment wetlands and other treatment interventions to stop that toxic highway runoff getting into these streams. We need to work with farmers in the upper catchments to stop agricultural runoff. We also need to make sure that there's enough water in these rivers. This one suffers from low flows a lot of the time, particularly dry weather like we have now. And dry weather really exacerbates the impacts of those pollution sources. By 2050, we're going to see potentially a 5 billion litres per day deficit in water supply without ambitious action. What does that action look like? Well, 9 new reservoirs, 8 water recycling schemes, 9 water desalination schemes, 5 major water transfers nationally. That's the big infrastructure. Then we need to sort out leaks from water mains. There's about 1 billion litres worth of water per day to be reduced from leakage there. And then the rest comes from improving the efficiency of water that we use in our homes. And that's where we really need government to step in. We need 3 key policy measures implemented by government to help water efficiency. Firstly, we need them to introduce a mandatory water efficiency labelling scheme. We see these measures on our TVs, on our dishwashers, on our washing machines when we buy them, so we can tell really easily how much energy they use. Why can't we have the same for water? We've been talking about this for a decade now. We need government to implement it. Then we need ambitious building standards for new homes that are based around those water efficiency labels and prescribe ambitious levels of efficiency up to anything like 80 litres per person per day. We're currently at an average usage of about 140 litres per person per day, but if you use the right fixtures and fittings you can get there, especially if you use rainwater harvesting. And the third policy measure that we need from government is a review of regulations around what we call wholesome water. Currently, we flush our toilets with highly treated drinking water. Now that's a crazy waste. We should be harvesting rainwater from our roofs, putting it in tanks and piping it to our toilets where it's perfectly clean enough to flush. The final thing that I really want to see is an injection of democratic accountability and prioritisation of the kinds of interventions that we see delivered locally and regionally, by giving more powers to mayors and local authorities to identify the priorities in their areas and then direct funding towards solving them. That's how we unlock a resilient water system for people and the environment, and I really hope the People's Water Commission will help to hold government's feet to the fire in ensuring that we see that in the coming years.